Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome into week number 4 of the NFL and a Ravens Wrap show here on Comcast Beach TV, also on 93.5 The Beach, Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens, the strongest signal Ravens affiliate on the eastern shore of Maryland and Delaware. Welcome in once again. I'm former B101.7 jock and now up at 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Mike Bradley to my left, former All-Pro Baltimore Colt, Mr. Bruce Laird. A hand for the All-Pro here.
Thank you, brother.
To his left, editor-in-chief of Ravens247.com, voted Baltimore's best in the magazine up there. Doesn't get any better than that. Tony Lombardi. OC local, former Lehigh College player, and venture capitalist, multi-millionaire businessman, Mr. John Garrett joining us.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Is that news to him?
Internet guru.
That's right.
That's
right. We are broadcasting from the Ravens Room here at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. We want to thank our sponsors, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill right down the street from us, and of course here the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Well, guys, we're feeling a lot better this week than we were last week. The Ravens improved to 2-1 on this season with a 37-7 romping of the St. Louis Rams. And early on in the game, Flacco to Torrey Smith, we saw that 3 times for 3 touchdowns. The Ravens, guys, amassing 553 yards of total offense. That's a franchise record. Joe Flacco, yeah, that deserves a round of applause. 389 passing yards. I didn't think I'd come to see the day. And Torrey Smith became just the 12th player in NFL history and the first rookie to catch 3 touchdown passes in a quarter. He finished with 5 catches for 152 yards. What a game. And guys, a lot of significance here. The Ravens coming off a tough loss to Tennessee in which they did not play very well. They're on the road against an 0-2 team who you could say is desperate. They're without Lee Evans. They're without David Reed. They're without Ben Grubbs. And yet, Bruce, and we talked last week, guys, I know, Bruce, you were out last week, but we talked about the running game needing to set up the pass for the young receivers. That's the total opposite of the game plan that they went to. They threw the heck out of the ball for 4 quarters. Bruce, I was shocked.
This is how much I know, because I went right with the exact same situation. I said they're going to come up with 2 tights. They're going to force the running game down on St. Louis. We're going to see more of that, and the run's going to set up the pass. And I'll tell you what, Flacco saw man press coverage, cover 1 with a free safety in the middle, and he went right after him. Now, that was good thinking by the Rams, bad execution by the Rams, though, because they couldn't stop the kid.
No.
Okay? The kid had it all done.
Tony, we were very concerned about Torrey Smith, had a tough preseason, got off to a rough start the first couple games. This kid, given the opportunity, boy, he made the most of it on Sunday. I think we're feeling a lot better against Torrey Smith, albeit St. Louis. Still, he went out there and he produced.
Well, last week, Bruce, in your absence, we came up with a new feature called Wild Ass Guess. We each give a wag.
Yeah. A wag, that's good.
And my wag was Torrey Smith was going to make an impact.
That's right.
So, and he did. So that was one thing I got right last week. But to address the question, one thing I liked about the game was that Cam Cameron and Joe Flacco both kept doing what kept working. They didn't stop. They didn't let release the throttle at all. And I think with Joe Flacco, I mean, last year we heard, John, that the Ravens didn't believe, or Cam Cameron didn't believe in audibles. They seemed to work pretty good on Sunday.
Yeah, it was, it's good to get excited. I mean, we saw some verticality, to use a Brian Billick word, to the offense for a change. And really what we talked about last week, it was like they were watching the show. Maybe everyone at the castle watches.
How you doing, Cam?
You never know. Yeah.
Because
they got 95 flat screen TVs, right. So they are watching the show, John.
And that one in the basement where you are.
Absolutely.
That's right.
They haven't found me yet, though.
Yeah, so, I mean, they challenged defense. And truthfully, if the Rams are going to come up and they're going to play the run and stay in that type of defense, you expect an offense to attack with the pass. And that's what we did. We kept doing it. And Joe, to his credit, he trusted, particularly the first ball. I mean, Torrey Smith hadn't even broken free yet. He just trusted. He laid the ball out there, let the guy go run after it.
Much like
much like Roethlisberger and Mike Wallace. I mean, he just lets Wallace go get the ball, and that's what Torrey Smith did. And really, that third touchdown was just a a hell of a pass too. And Torrey Smith went up, commanded the ball, and then got it.
And that was my favorite catch of his because he attacked the ball in the air. And I heard Torrey Smith in Baltimore Talk Radio that he was saying how he gave up on that first pass from Joe because he didn't think anybody could throw it that far. He said, I slowed down and then I saw the ball and he just sped up because you could see how the defender slowed down too. And then he put on the accelerator and caught the pass.
And that's a rookie mistake, Tony. You know what I mean? That's a guy that says, well, it's not going to get there. And you saw a lot of that early on when you were talking to the coaching staff and talking to some of the offensive players that Torrey just didn't understand that it's a full-speed game and don't worry about it. And I think for the first time when he saw the press, and Joe may have said something, listen, if they're in the coverage and you got it, I'm sending it your way. So be ready. And he absolutely was.
Yeah, hats off to Cam Cameron for doing a great job at getting him the ball. We talked all last week about you've got to get Torrey Smith the ball, get him some touches. They did that. In addition, some other rookies making some big plays. Laquan Williams on special teams also did a great job downfield blocking and had a catch in the game as well. Tandon Doss. We'll talk more about the Ravens and the Rams. A big win, 37-7. More of the Ravens Wrap Show coming up next on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
What's going on?
We're giving Matt the NFL experience of a high-pressure field goal.
Look out! It's terrible, man!
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Hey, it gets easier. Really? No.
And welcome back in. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV, also at Delmarva's Rock Radio, home of the Ravens, 93.5 The Beach. Broadcasting here from the Ravens Room of the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway at Ocean City. Ravens Roost number 44 joining us. A round of applause. And of course, we invite all Ravens fans to come on down. And I see we've got a former member. Krista came back for the show today. She's here today, so a round of applause. No, she's a member emeritus, as we'll call her, so we appreciate coming down.
She snuck in the back door.
She did. She incognito over there. Anyway, she's just a radio show. But guys, 37-7 victory over the St. Louis Rams last week, and again a very dominating performance. And John, we'll start with you. You know, we talked about Torrey Smith in the last segment. 5 catches, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's that vertical threat, taking over for the injured Lee Evans and David Reed. And who leads the team with catches though? That opens up those underneath routes. Anquan Bolden, 7 for 74. Ed Dixon, 5 for 51. That's the whole plan all along, and they finally have those vertical threats, and Torrey Smith stepped up.
Yeah, you add that to the mix, and you know you're having a nice little stew, so to speak. And you know you open up the underneath and spread these defenses out. I kind of want to. You know, I'm sitting there watching the game. It was so un-Raven-like that I'm thinking, are they just giving Rex something to think about? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it was a good opportunity. I mean, this Rams defense, this whole Rams team is they were banged up. They lost one of their starting corners for the year and put on injured reserve. So it was a good opportunity to take some shots, because if it didn't work, you knew you could always come back to the running game, one of the worst run defenses in the league. So, it's just if we get some verticality to the offense, Bruce, we're looking pretty tough.
Oh, there's no question about it. And again, it looks like the younger players are going to have to step up. Now, let's take this with a grain of salt. I mean, Torrey Smith may not catch another touchdown pass for weeks. But then again, Rex is thinking about it. And that defense, the Jets defense, is made up of a lot of double zone combinations, double man combinations, which is what Joe has a problem with. When Joe thinks he sees double man or double zone, that's where he has his issues. When Joe is comfortable, when he knows it's man-to-man, I think he feels that he can let the ball go and they'll play catch. But it's going to be quite different when he sees the Jets defense.
And I think that they see those defenses because they've been ineffective against them, and they haven't had, as John says, the verticality that they all of a sudden have with not only Torrey Smith but Lee Evans. And another thing, too, I think with Torrey Smith, what he did, maybe, as Bruce said, maybe it's even an aberration. Maybe he doesn't catch another pass for the next 3 weeks. It could be that way. But the fact that he did that, 5 catches, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns, I think, Mike, he's on film now. He's on tape. So now they can't ignore him. They have to roll coverage towards him. And if Lee Evans does play a little bit, that's going to open up the underneath routes, as you suggested before.
Well, that was my point. When Lee Evans comes back, healthy, David Reed as well, guys that can also stretch the field. Okay, if you get Torrey Smith against a third or fourth cornerback, there's a good chance he's going to win that battle with that speed. So, I think the chances are once you get those players back that he'll be able to be productive. And, guys, we talked last year. It's kind of interesting. I'll throw this back at you, Tony, real quick, because every game that we saw that we thought, okay, the Ravens are going to come out and throw the ball against a bad pass defense team or run the ball against a bad rush defense team, end up doing the opposite. And that's exactly what happened against the St. Louis Rams. And as John pointed out, didn't expect to see that. And they went 4 quarters vertical.
I mean, fellas, I was in shock. The first 5 or 6 plays, all passes. And then when you saw it all working out, and then I'm figuring, well, that makes sense. I mean, if I was the St. Louis defensive coordinator, I would say, beat me with some unproven talent. But once you got your butt spanked, you should get out of it and do something else. And they didn't do anything else for the whole first quarter. They stayed in what we call cover one. Everybody's man-to-man with a free safety, and they just went after them vertically. So if these other players get back in the mix, guys, and you can go to 3 wides, and you can start pressing the double man coverage with crossing routes and a lot of that stuff where you're running away from the underneath because you have 2 people over the top, that helps you. It takes away the long vertical, but then you get those guys that can run. You hit them from the hash mark over to the other side of the field. You get those crossing routes, and it's still there. And if Joe sees that and let the ball go to where the receiver's supposed to be, and that's where he's getting better and better, Tony, I think, every week.
Yeah, and I think let's not discard the fact that they got a lot of time to throw the football, too. If you noticed on that play, Torrey Smith, that post pattern for a touchdown, underneath Anquan Bolden was running around. He was wide open. I think if he gets the ball, he goes in for a score too. But all that happens, dragging it completely across the field and being open on the other side of the hash mark because you have protection up front.
And John, we see it's such a passing league, 7,000 yards thrown in the first week. You take a look at what that did for the running game. The passing game gets highlighted here, but the Ravens still 26 for 168. Ray Rice only 8 carries, but for 79 yards, almost a 10-yard average. Ricky Williams had a nice game, 5 for 42. That's an 8.4 average. The pass sets up the run. That's the new NFL.
Yeah, it's a good point. I thought the Ravens actually should have started running the ball a little more. I mean, it's nice to be excited, but the Ravens didn't score an offensive touchdown after the first quarter. So, we left some questionable red zone play calling. When you have Vontae Leach and Haloti Ngata as your 2 primary receivers on a red zone play, yeah, that play needs to be ripped out of the playbook. So.
And some would argue they kept their starters in a little bit long in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about the defensive performance of the Ravens against the Rams next. More of the Ravens Drive Show on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. Hey.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back to the Ravens Wrap Show here at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City, here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. I want to thank some of our sponsors, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill right down the street on 116th Street, the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, and our newest sponsor here on the Ravens Wrap Show, G&G Outfitters. Mike Bradley, Tony Lombardi, Bruce Laird, John Gehrig, not in that order though. Hey guys, let's talk about the Ravens defense against the Rams, only giving up 7 points. Coming in, we saw a performance against the Titans that concerned us defensively. That was not one of the better Ravens defensive performances that we've seen. The corners certainly were an issue. Jimmy Smith's out until after the bye. But, you look at what the Ravens were able to do. They were able to get pressure. We talked about on Sam Bradford, who doesn't perform well with that. Steven Jackson did play, but sparingly. They did an all-around pretty good job there, Bruce, in stopping the run, stopping the pass, and certainly the offense getting up early. As you know as a former player, that's huge.
It's a big part of the defensive philosophy when you're up 7, then you go 14 right away to 21 points in the first quarter. Obviously, it helps your defense. But again, the Ravens did not have to apply pressure to get after Sam Bradford, which was big. They sent 4 and 5 quite a bit of time. Very few times did they send 6 and all-out blitz. And I'll tell you, Sam Bradford's parents, go to Lloyd's of London. Get him some insurance. I mean, that poor kid, if he makes it through the season after what we saw, he's like a rag doll. He was tagged more times than I've seen in a long time. Big, tough kid, but they got after him pretty good.
And Tony, we've talked about getting that pressure opposite of Terrell Suggs from a host of people by committee. Again, they were able to do it. A couple of linebackers got in on the fray. You had a young rookie get in there as well. It was good sledding for the defense.
Yeah, they're really excited about Pernell McPhee, and Paul Kruger is really playing well this year.
Corey
Redding. In fact, Corey Redding had his best game, I think, as a Raven. So, in fact, Kruger's playing so well, I think he's taking snaps away from JJ. And I think you're going to see that JJ could be one of those guys next year that met the same fate that Derek Mason and Todd Heap met this year. So I think Paul Kruger's playing that well. But this game reminded me a lot of an Indianapolis Colt game. The way Peyton Manning gets his team off to a big start and he makes the other team one-dimensional. And as Bruce indicated, they were getting after Sam Bradford with 4 guys. And the reason they do that because they don't have to worry about one thing, rushing the passer.
Yeah, and we talked about that after the Steelers game. So, and then you throw in a Tennessee aberration, hopefully, in there. And now it's 2 good defensive performances, one-dimensional. Steeler game, we come out, first or second play of the game and score. So, very similar situations. And we talked about Sam Bradford being a good quarterback, but being young. And when you have Hasselbeck out there, who is a pro, a veteran that can really seen it before, that can read a defense, that's quick with processing information and can deliver the ball. Bradford's going to be a stud, it looks like. He really misses Danny Amendola, the slot guy for them. In the middle of the field, you see him throwing a lot of balls. He was late with balls. He has never seen what he just saw. And he paid for it, Bruce, just like you said.
Oh, I'll tell you what, he did. He does need some Lloyd's in London insurance. I don't know if that young man makes it through the season. You're not going to see that many Raven defenses against, right. But I know he's a tough kid, but he took a beat.
Well, and he said he hadn't seen a defense quite like that before in a while. And one of the things we were worried about, guys, was the no-huddle offense, but it seems like Chuck Pagano and the defense did a good job at keeping up with St. Louis. We did get pressure on him, got him out of rhythm a little bit. And I guess the concern, again, coming into the game, guys, was the cornerback situation. Kerry Williams still learning that cornerback spot, starting this year for the first time. Ladarius Webb stepping into the outside role from nickel. But again, those guys did pretty well. I mean, nobody really went off. You take a look, Brandon Gibson, Mike Sims-Walker, Denario Alexander, nobody really had a big game for them. So, solid job by those guys.
Oh, there's no question about it. And that's what you want to do. The following week, when you know you got a Kenny Britt that's a playmaker, and you know you got to take care of business, and he goes off for 8 or 9 catches, that shouldn't happen against the Baltimore Raven defense. It just shouldn't be that way. You should be able to take care of business. Yeah, but don't let them hurt you that big. And they weren't able to do that, and I think they regrouped. And again, they're learning as they're going. They're putting places in here. Don't forget, this is a football team that has 22 new players. For a playoff team that's been in the league, in the playoffs 3 straight years in a row, 22 new players out of a 53-man roster. Extremely difficult to see the cohesiveness of how that's going to work.
And on the topic of cohesiveness, I think getting Chris Carr back really helped that secondary too.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
getting
that.
Him back, and Ladarius Webb. You know, he didn't play a very good first half against the Tennessee Titans. He had a decent game against the Steelers, but I think he's really coming on, and his technique on that interception was textbook.
Oh, wasn't it? I mean, he played it. He got up there, and again, if you're going to bump, I like to be more physical, but at that time you got to change it up.
That's right.
So he's up bumping and running, and then he turned out and ran out of there. The receiver stumbled a little bit, and he's right there to make the big play.
And John, we got about 40 seconds. You know, the safeties had a pretty good game. Unfortunately, Haruki Nakamura looks like he's going to be out for a month or so. But again, this is a secondary we're going to have some ups and downs with, but they had an up game, certainly against St. Louis.
And they just beat them up. You know, when the Ravens, two games here, Steelers and the Rams, I mean, you can hear the hits on TV, and you don't want to run a football when you're getting hit that hard. So when they're on, the Ravens seems like they're really on. So we see what happens with the Jets.
More of the Ravens Wrap Show coming up. We'll talk with Tony Lombardi, that is, with a Ravens247.com insider segment next.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
Come see us at Blue Ox.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
And welcome back in. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach, the home of the Ravens. Mike Bradley, Tony Lombardi. It is our Ravens247.com insider segment. And Tony, let's start with Torrey Smith. He certainly did the Ravens coaches front office proud Sunday with a monster performance, 5 catches, 3 for touchdowns. His first 3 catches, touchdowns. I don't know if that's a record or not in terms of somebody's first 3 catches for NFL touchdowns.
And I think they said on the broadcast that was the first time since 1991 that somebody did that.
Okay.
Now, somebody would argue if Joe Flacco hadn't overthrown him a couple of times, maybe would have had his first 4 catches would have been touchdowns.
Very true. Very true. But with Torrey Smith, I mean, we've seen a lot of guys come out of college that have speed, but they haven't necessarily made the NFL. Maybe not good hands, not good route runner. But what made the Ravens feel like Torrey Smith could be a complete NFL receiver in this league for the Ravens?
Well, there's no defensing speed, so obviously the first thing, Mike, that they're attracted to is that speed. And I think he's also explosive in short spaces. You saw last week against the Rams that he slowed down a little bit after one of those passes, but then he saw the ball was out there. He put that burst on, he put that kicked the Jets in. So I think they like that. But I think more importantly, what they really like about Torrey Smith is his character. He's a solid guy, and I think we saw what he did when he stood up for Jimmy Smith during that introductory press conference and just, subsided all the questions from the media about his character, Jimmy Smith's character issues. Torrey Smith is a really hard worker, and that's the one thing that the coaches love because he's coachable and he's willing to work on his weaknesses to become a better player, and I think that's important in the NFL.
And certainly Ralph Friedgen was gave him very high praise in talking to the Ravens when they did their research on him.
Yeah, I'd say that I think he called him the perfect person.
It doesn't get any better than that, Fred. Today we find out here on Wednesday, as we look forward for the game coming up, that Dominic Foxworth has been put on IR. Prescott Burgess re-signed at the linebacker position. Certainly that's a big deal. I mean, we knew Dominic was trying to rehab that ACL injury and come back a little bit slower than we expected. Maybe the offseason lockout had something to do with it, but that kind of puts the Ravens in a hole right now, corner, doesn't it, in terms of depth?
It does, but I think they're confident that Jimmy Smith is going to come back after the bye, and I think it's going to obviously help them. But with Dominic Foxworth, he's a guy they like. It's a guy that worked really hard in the offseason, but you hinted at it, his involvement with the CBA and all that. I think that he was taken away from his workouts. He was doing things other than just trying to get his knee back in shape. He suffered a similar injury to Ladarius Webb, and he took a lot longer than Ladarius Webb to heal. He's not even healed yet, which is why he's going on IR. But Webby, when he was hurt, I think it was in December of the previous year, and by September he was playing. Right. And last year Foxworth was injured in training camp, and here it is almost October, and he's still not healthy. Yeah,
it's a little bit of a surprise to say the least, and I think the big issue with him is he's a huge cap number, making some $7 million. So to be on the sidelines, that's kind of expensive for the Ravens have to eat that.
It's expensive, but I think he's played his last down as a Baltimore Raven.
Yeah. Let's switch gears to the offensive side. Michael Orr, obviously we've seen he still has his false start issues, right tackle, and he's got to work on that and get better. He's talked about that. John Harbaugh's talked about that. But I'm curious, through the I know it's early first 3 games, do the coaches, the front office, though, see a change in Michael Orr that indeed, that's the place that he's supposed to be at right tackle, and that he's getting back to being the guy he was rookie year when he started at right tackle as opposed to left?
Yeah, I think that what the Ravens are doing right now, they're trying to field the best team that they can. And right now, the best team that they can field is with Michael Orr at right tackle. I don't think they're cutting him off in terms of being a left tackle in the future, but I think that Bryant McKinney is a better left tackle than him right now. I think also that Michael Orr is suffering from a little bit of a confidence issue, and they just want to get him to slow down his play and relax a little bit and get real comfortable at right tackle, and hopefully that'll manifest itself into being a better left tackle next year.
He seemed to have a pretty good game against Chris Long from the St. Louis Rams. Yeah, early on, he struggled a little bit, a few plays here and there, but John Harbaugh at the press conference said he had a very solid game against the Rams. So that was certainly good to see.
Yeah, when you keep a quarterback clean as many times as the Ravens did, I don't think that Joe Flacco got sacked until late in the game. And what did he throw the ball? 48 times, 49 times?
Yeah, 47, 48.
So when you only get sacked twice, your offensive line is doing a good job, and he's part of that.
We talked about health issues. Dominic Foxworth, he's done for the year. You mentioned about Jimmy Smith, so it should be expected after the bye week that he'll be back then in a week. I guess that would be 7.
Yeah, these high ankle sprains are very mysterious because the guys like Todd Heap has kept those guys out for like 8 or 9 weeks in a single season. But I think with a younger player like Jimmy Smith, maybe the severity of that injury wasn't quite what Todd's was. So I'm hearing that he's going to come back after the bye.
What about Lee Evans? What's his status? Will he play against the New York Jets Sunday night?
He's an interesting call because there are some people in the organization that want him to sit and heal that ankle completely. Mm-hmm. It's not an injury that's going to structurally damage him anymore. It's just one that he's got to play through some pain. So there's some that want him to play, some that don't want him to play. I think this is a big game, and I think you'll see Lee Evans on the field. Maybe not as the starter, or maybe not with as many reps as a starter usually gets, but he'll be out there on the field and putting some pressure on the Jets secondary.
Especially with a bye week after. We've got about 40 seconds left. A couple of nuggets on the Ravens here from our insider that we won't hear anywhere else.
Well, we mentioned earlier in the show that Paul Kruger's playing really well. I think Jared Johnson's one of those guys that could be on the bubble next year. But I think the Ravens are also focusing on just this year. So, and also we talked about Foxworth. There's some talk within the organization that Ladarius Webb could eventually move into a safety position.
Interesting. We'll see. Well, good stuff as always. Tony Lombardi, our insider, Ravens247.com. We'll get the pros perspective with Bruce Laird next on Ravens Wrap.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV. Also, Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach, the home of the Ravens, here at the Blue Ox. The Ravens Room, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. I want to thank some of our sponsors, Bud Light, also FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club. We've got the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, and our newest sponsor, G&G Outfitters. Mike Bradley, former All-Pro Baltimore Colt, Bruce Laird joining us for the Pros Perspective. And Bruce, I knew you were off last week, had some business to attend to. Wanted to get back to the Tennessee game a few weeks ago, the 26-13 loss, highlighted by a lot of breakdowns in the secondary. We talked about the roller coaster ride with the new corners and such. But since you weren't here last week, wanted to get your take on what you thought went wrong in that game, and then how they rebounded and what they did better against the St. Louis Rams this past week.
Well, I think, Mike, the biggest thing is they weren't ready to play for some reason, and you cannot quantify that. I've been in so many locker rooms, and I'm looking around at my teammates, and I say, you know what, we got the best, we practice well, we should rock and roll, and you go out there and lay an egg. And the coaches can't figure it out, you as players can't figure it out, but you know it does happen. So whatever went down, I'm sure they had a pretty decent week of practice, but they didn't perform that well in Tennessee. Why? A little bit of Matt Hasselbeck. He can play. He knows it. It was their home opener. Tennessee was ready to come out and make a statement, and they couldn't stop Kenny Britt. And they should be able to hold him down a little bit, and they weren't able to do that.
What can you do against a guy like Kenny Britt? I'm sure we'll see a receiver like him down the road, but when you're trying to get pressure on a quarterback, but he's doing a good job of getting rid of the ball quickly. I talked last week about the wild ass cushion that you had out there. If you're not getting pressure, you got to at least try to alter their routes or do something. Maybe mix up the secondary. What can you do exactly?
Well, Mike, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you window dress the quarterback with a lot of different looks, and then when he's throwing the ball in 3 and 5 step drops, you're not gonna blitz him because he's gonna get the ball out. Right. So you got to change your defensive philosophy a little bit. Your corners have got to press and then come off. You got to change what the receiver sees. If the receiver is looking at you for 60 plays and you're doing the same thing over and over again, they get as used to that as we do as players. So press them and then come off. Don't press and then do all different things. Line up inside and end up outside. Line up outside and end up inside. Do all the things to make him continue to think, because that's what they don't want to do. So that's a little bit more, and that takes experience. Because young players right now, they know where the first thing they think about, who's in the game, what's the defensive call, and what do I got to do? They're not thinking right now as a young player, God, they're in 3 wides. They're on the 30-yard line. What do they like to do? This guy, I mean,
it's too much.
It's just too much. You can't. It takes you so long to do that, and only experience can lead you down that road.
So maybe that's why we didn't see those things against Tennessee. Maybe later in the season, similar situation, we'll see those kind of adjustments being made by Kerry Williams and Jimmy Smith once he comes back as well.
And I think so. And I said this early on when we first started talking about the season with these young corners, that the safeties are really going to have to talk to these young guys a lot. Every play, you should be doing that. And in my 14 years in the league, every time I lined up on right or left to a corner, I was talking to him. I wanted him to understand, here's all the knowledge I have for you, and give it to him, and then let him play. Because they can't start thinking when the play's going. They just got to react.
So, expected a roller coaster ride a little bit with the corners. Now, certainly a bounce back, though, against St. Louis. We talked about in a couple of segments ago how the offense getting up early certainly helps the defense. You had mentioned pressure without really blitzing. So that aided them as well in the St. Louis game where they didn't have that in Tennessee.
There's no question about it. I mean, Cam and the entire offensive staff did a good job. You got that situation where within 6 or 7 minutes of the game, you're up 14 points. Now, seriously, you as a defensive football team, you realize you got a cushion. You don't change too much, but you're also realizing in certain things, I don't have to think about run. I'm going to play pass and react to run. when you don't have that situation and you have to read it, because that's what you have to do as a secondary guy, whether it's run or pass, you know, it takes you a little time to do that. But when you're in that other situation, Mike, you're sitting there going, let him show me run, I'll react to it. Other than that, I'm playing pass. And you tell your guys up front, boys, it's go fetch. You know, go get the little rabbit somewhere.
Well, and as good as the Ravens are against the run, you know, those corners don't have to worry about those guys too much anyway. The one guy I was concerned about, Bruce, last week, Denario Alexander, 6'5", 215, very similar build to Kenny Britt, but, you know, he was held to 2 catches for 28 yards. Wanted to talk real quickly in our last minute here. Joe Flacco, 27 for 48, 389 yards. He had 3 touchdowns against the Rams. What have you seen from Joe from a defensive perspective the first couple weeks, and what improvement has he made from year 3 to year 4, year 1 to year 4?
You know, I think Joe is understanding the game a little bit better. He's understanding when he sees man-to-man in this league, the way the referees are calling the game, the way that the defense can only hit the receiver after 5 yards. If you're man-to-man and you have the players that he does, you got the Boldens and some other guys, Torrey Smith, whether it's an aberration or whether it's the real deal. When they're out there, throw him the ball. I mean, and put it where only he could possibly catch it. And Joe's getting better at that. You run the go, it should be outside shoulder to the sideline like that. So,
all right, and he's got more weapons. Certainly, we talk about Lee Evans and vertical threat, Torrey Smith, etc. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about the game against the New York Jets. More of the Ravens Wrap Show next on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beat. Yeah!
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
What's going on?
We're giving Matt the NFL experience of a high-pressure field goal.
Look out! It's terrible, man!
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Hey, it gets easier. Really? No.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach, Delmarva's Rock Radio and home of the Ravens. We are at our new digs this year, the Blue Ox Bar and Grill in the Ravens Room here, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. Loving the digs. Loving
my man cave, man. It's my man cave.
Yeah, it's a Ravens man cave. Ravens Roost 44 in attendance. And as always, the Royal Group. And we invite every Ravens fan to come on down for the taping every Wednesday here at the Blue Ox. Mike Bradley, we've got Bruce Laird, Tony Lombardi, John Gehrig. Guys, we're going to talk about the game against the Jets upcoming Sunday Night Football. And as I understand it, the Jets are going to need, 3 buses to come to Baltimore? 1 for Rex Ryan, 1 for his ego, and then 1 for the rest of the team. I think that's how that works. So, we
funny, Mike.
actually made a funny once in a while here. Yeah. So, the Jets, we know them well. They've got a few former Ravens. It seems like Rex likes to pick up our cast-offs, which are fine. And, the Jets, give them credit. They made the AFC Championship game the last 2 years. But we go up there last year, the opening of the new Meadowlands. take care of business. Bruce, it was kind of ugly 10-9. But I'll say in that game, though, I thought that there were a lot of pass interference penalties that would have gone for touchdowns, but they were dragging the receivers down. I think we did pretty well in that one, but again, we eke it out 10-9. But the Jets back this year for another game.
Well, we were all thinking that Sanchez wasn't even given a playbook that day, if I remember. I mean, he wasn't throwing the football, he wasn't being aggressive, but at the end of the day, you get a win. And, I mean, this is a football team that has the personality of their head coach. I mean, Rex Ryan wears it on his sleeve. He has no problem being bravado. He has no problem saying things like it is. His press conference today with the Baltimore media was a hoot itself, talking about things. And that's how he is. And he's at the Big Apple, so it's a perfect scenario for him. Now,
as long as he's winning.
Yeah, there you go. The problem is when you do that, you better have the horses that can take you to the finish line. And we'll see. I mean,
or the feet.
We'll get into that later. But I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting because Rex's defense, a lot of window dressing, a lot of things that Flacco's going to have to read, and can that offensive line pick up where the blitzes are coming from? Because Rex will send it.
Yeah. And this is the kind of defense that really challenges that continuity that you don't have with the Ravens' offensive line. They haven't been working together. We're not sure who's going to go at left guard for the Ravens. Last week it was Garrett. I think he did a nicer job than Matt LaFleur the week before. So when you have those things going on, you don't have that continuity. The challenges are, where is the blitz coming from? I think Matt Burke's really good at that, really good at communicating that. And I've noticed also, Mike, that this year Marshall Yanda seems to be doing a lot more chatting pre-snap too.
That's a good thing. John, we talk about the Jets, usually a team we know for defense. Rex Ryan, from the old school, run the football, stop the run, blitz happy. Take a look at the team this year. It's only through 3 games, grant you, but they're 31st in the league with rush defense. They're not running the ball very effectively. They're throwing the ball about 12 more times than they're running, which is kind of odd, for a Rex Ryan type team. So it's a different team. I'm curious. We knew St. Louis wasn't good against the run. We threw the ball. The Ravens come out in 4 wide against the Jets, even with as many good corners as they have?
Well, the Jets have kind of lost some identity here. I mean, they've been run on every game. Now, they just went up against Darren McFadden again with the Raiders, and he's one of the best running backs in football. I mean, the guy is just the perfect blend of speed and power, and he just has velocity that really Ray Rice doesn't have. So I don't see Ray Rice blowing through that defense for 74 yards like McFadden did. But even Maurice Jones-Drew, when that's all they have on that team, that Jacksonville team, had over 100 total yards of offense. So the Jets really cannot stop the run. Bart Scott's getting knocked on the ground every other play, it looks like, and they cannot run the ball. Sean Green is not dynamic. He is slower than Anquan Bolden. So that's not good out of your running back position. But
it's kind of interesting. I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson averaging, both guys, Sean Gray and LaDainian, averaging about less than 4 yards a carry, like 3.3, which is pretty pedestrian for the Jets. Yet the Tomlinsons are leading receiver out of the backfield. If you take a look at the offense, you've got a vertical stretch guy in Holmes. You've got Plaxico Burress they picked up. But Tony, looks like teams have done a good job at keeping their vertical threats down. They've taken them away and forced Sanchez to check down.
Well, in a lot of ways, teams are doing to Rex's offense what Rex's defense does to opposing offenses, and that is make them one-dimensional. They can't run the football, and they've got some instability on their offensive line. They got a new right tackle. Mangold is not a go. You got a new center, so that's not a good thing for a team going up against a Ravens front seven. It's really playing well right now.
Bruce, you've got some of the best corners though. Darrelle Revis in the league. Cromartie, I think when he wants to be. Pretty good secondary back there. Ravens are really going to be challenged, though.
Oh, I think absolutely they will be. And again, what Joe's got to understand is Rex mixes things up quite a bit. He is going to give you a look that looks like double zone. It could end up being double man. And if they catch a lot of double man with Joe, then Cam's got to get these guys in the crossing routes. He's got to get them from one hash mark to the other because they can run. And they got to get them in those things. We call them dualies. Go in this way and then go back out. Because the over-top help, when you have double man, everybody's locked up underneath. So picture the umbrella. You're locked up underneath with 2 over the top. So it's hard to attack it vertically because those safeties are looking for the big play. And the underneath stuff, those corners and safeties, are grabbing for the early stuff. So that's why the crossing routes and the in and outs are very effective against double man.
Well, we'll see if Lee Evans plays or not. He could be a big indicator as to whether the Ravens are successful throwing the ball or not. We'll find out. More of the preview of the Ravens Jets coming up here on Ravens Wrap Show on Comcast Beach TV.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill. Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back in. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here from the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway at Ocean City, here on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach, Delmarva's Rock Radio. Home of the Ravens. Want to thank our sponsors, Bud Light, FlyLady.net, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, trying to memorize this here, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, the Blue Ox right here, Bar and Grill, and our newest advertiser, G&G Outfitters. We thank those folks for being a part of the program. Mike Bradley, Bruce Laird, Tony Lombardi, John Gehrig, the Ravens and Jets, Sunday Night Football. And guys, so we're breaking down the game, and let's get back to it a little bit. We were talking off air a little bit about the matchups. You know, if Lee Evans goes, you know, who do you see? What corner do you see against him? How does it match up if he doesn't go? You know, who takes on Torrey Smith? How do you see the Jets lining up their corners against our receivers?
Well, I mean, that's a very good question. I think if Evans does go, that puts Rex Ryan in a little bit of a bind. He may just let everybody sit where they are, but if Evans doesn't go, he may take the young stud and put him on Torrey, and just wherever he goes, just let him play. And again, that doesn't mean they're all man-to-man. It just means that corner is following Smith whatever side he goes on. He's lining up right or left in the slot, that's where he's going to be.
It seems to me, Tony, whoever, you know, plays healthy or not, whether it's both Torrey and Lee Evans or just Torrey Smith, it seems like the slot position may be the one that the Ravens can take advantage of. Last year, you know, we saw the rookie Kyle Wilson go up against TJ Houshmandzadeh. Houshmandzadeh got many a call against Kyle Wilson for holding. Looks like Bolton could have an advantage. Again, Ed Dixon against their linebackers, and Ray Rice 1-on-1 against their linebackers. Seems like those guys could have a big game again, much in the same way they did against Pittsburgh week 1.
Yeah, I think with what Torrey Smith did against the St. Louis Rams, if Lee Evans does play, I think Bruce is right. I think they do give you a more traditional look on the backside, and they play more zone on the back end, and then whoever they line up in front of, that's who Revis is going to take, et cetera, et cetera. And I agree with you, Mike. I think in doing that, putting that pressure, I think what Flacco does is he's going to target the guy that Cromartie's guarding and the guy that Kyle Wilson's guarding. And I think you're right on the money. Ed Dixon, I see having a big game, relatively speaking, against the Jets, because if you think back to that first game last year, Monday Night Football, Todd Heap was the biggest, one of the bigger vertical threats. So I see Ed Dixon being a faster guy, and he's going to have and old Raven Jim Leonard is going to have a matchup issue with Ed Dixon.
Shockingly enough, last year, John, the Ravens, without a lot of vertical threats last year, maybe without any, against the Jets, so forced the Jets at one point to play zone defense, which they don't like to do a whole lot of, again, with Cromartie and Revis, one of the better corners in the league.
Yeah, and we don't know how healthy Cromartie's really going to be out there, but we can, if he's healthy.
He's going to play, it looks like, but how healthy is.
But if he's healthy, if he's a little nicked up, it could not be to our advantage, so to speak. If he's healthy, he's one of the most aggressive corners there are, and we pretty much abused him in the first half of the game last year.
One shot to the ribs from Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, block him a little bit, you know?
you know
Just one shot.
You know what's going to be funny because of Rex's style? I mean, if it goes early and those secondary guys from the Jets get a lot of holding penalties early, I think that could actually happen. I mean, because Rex should sit there and say, take your shot, grab him, punch him in the mouth, do a few things. You get a few 5-yard penalty flags.
Right.
The heck with it. Just let them know that you're going to be there all day, especially young players.
You know, a lot of this game is going to go on Joe, though. I mean, if we, you know, this is a situation. The Raiders were very effective. You know how Rex likes to move his guys and disguise his coverage, and he's in one thing, he's out in another.
Organized chaos, as they call it.
Yeah, Raiders really used a lot of quick counts, and that took. You know, the defense could not do that, so they had to be more. You know, they had to be more traditional in lining up, and we need to do what the Rams did against the Giants. Monday Night Football. When they have personnel groupings on the field, we're at home. We need to just pop into Joe's got to make it snap decision, pop into the no huddle, and take advantage of mismatches when we have personnel.
That pre-snap communication for that organized chaos is so important. And I think that with this crowd that's going to be crazy against the Jets on Sunday night, everybody's going to be lubed up, right?
Sure.
So it's going to be crazy. And I think that when you have that chaos around the organized chaos and that quick snap count, if you think back to when Rex was the defensive coordinator, the one thing that Ravens fans hated to see is when the other team went into a no huddle, because that seemed to destroy that organized chaos.
Well, guys, how do you see, Bruce, we'll start with you. How do you see the Ravens, that is, attacking the Jets? Do you see them coming out, throwing the football a lot, or do you see them going after the 31st rush defense in the league with running the ball?
Well, last week I was dead wrong. I thought they were going to go with two tights
We
and
all
run the
did,
football
yeah,
on first
we all
and
did.
10,
Yep.
and Joe saw cover one and saw the matchups and went throwing the football. I think that's exactly what we're going to see again. We're not going to know until it comes out there, but obviously because of Rex wants to stop the run. He'll do anything to stop the run. So the Ravens still have to run the football. You get them in 2nd and 5 or less, we got a great shot of winning this football game.
Much like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
I mean, the Raiders, that's a great point, Bruce. The Raiders, they won that game this past week 34-24, but they did not convert a third down. So got to stay out of the 3rd and long situation.
That's right. 0 of 8. You're absolutely right on that, John. Yep.
That's an amazing stat to win the game on, too.
Tony,
and score that many points.
That's my point. I mean, not converting a 3rd down conversion and still being
The Raiders use a lot of trick plays.
Digits.
Sometimes you're not the best team on the field. It's like the Ravens and Titans, but the other team finds the way to win. And the Raiders just played. They had a good scheme. They came out and just took it to them.
More of the Ravens-Jets preview coming up. It is the Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach for the Blue Ox.
G&G Outfitters, Inc. is a premier full-service in-house provider of branded merchandise and marketing solutions. With over 20 years of proven experience, G&G continues to successfully produce branded merchandise for some of the world's leading corporations, associations, and teams. From start to finish, G&G Outfitters is your single-source, one-stop partner for promotional products, logoed apparel, and all of your branded needs. For more info on the services and capabilities of G&G, visit ggoutfitters.com or call 301-731-2282.
Come see us at Blue Ox.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you can win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
Are you embarrassed to invite people to your home to watch your favorite football team? Well, don't worry, because you're not alone. FlyLady.net is the support you need. Join us and our more than 600,000 members and learn how to crush the clutter and game plan your way through routines that'll help you organize your home and your life. Tackle clutter and get your home game day ready with FlyLady.net.
It is the final segment here, the Ravens Wrap Show, broadcasting from the Ravens Room, the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. Ravens Roost number 44 with us as always, loyal group. We invite all Ravens fans to come on down here Wednesday night for the taping. I'm Mike Bradley, Bruce Laird, John Garrick, Tony Lombardi. And guys, final segment here as we talk about the game. We'll get our predictions at the end here. Let's talk about our defensive approach to the Jets, a team, as we talked about a little bit earlier, that not running the ball very effectively, averaging only about 3.3 yards a carry, which is Jets-like. They love the ground and pound the football. Mark Sanchez throwing the ball quite a bit. They're averaging throwing the ball roughly 12 more times than running. So it's a team, John, you talked about, that's maybe lost its identity a little bit. They've got some weapons in Santonio Holmes, Plaxico Burress, pretty good tight end, and Dustin Keller, although Ray Lewis lit him up last year. And then we, of course, know about Derek Mason, still a good possession guy, who's been targeted, I think, actually the most times of any receiver. But LaDainian Tomlinson is one of their leading, if not their leading receiver on this team.
Yeah, Dustin Keller and LaDainian Tomlinson are both most active. They're actually running the ball a lot out of 3 wide receiver sets, and they're just not pounding it. Their offensive line, like Tony said, is struggling. The Raiders, particularly on the interior, with Mangold hurt, that really hurts them. And the Raiders got a good push and just shut down the run. And Sanchez is just lost right now. He's struggling. He's not getting rid of the ball. The Jets have had some wide open receivers when you watch that Raider game, and he just doesn't pull the trigger. So you have a struggling offensive line and an inconsistent quarterback. And Santonio Holmes has a hammy issue, and it's pretty clear. I think he only had 1 catch this past week. So the Jets offense, not really dynamic. I think Plaxico needs to get more involved for them, and he would present a problem for the Ravens.
We talked about a little bit earlier, guys, just taking a look at some of the stats here. Mark Sanchez, you talked about a struggling offensive line, 9 sacks, so it's 3 a game that he's taking, plus any pressures that he gets. In addition, we talked about Santonio Holmes, Plaxico Burress, guys that are used to getting deep and making big plays. They've been held in check, so it looks like, again, the check down has been in vogue. LaDainian Tomlinson and Dustin Keller, the tight end, they're leading receivers, Bruce. So that tells me their teams are taking away the deep and making Mark Sanchez take the small.
Well, you're sitting here talking about 9 sacks in just 3 games, so 3 a game. So obviously the 5 or 7 step drop, he's going to have a hard time getting it. Right. And again, you don't have to have sacks on quarterbacks. You need hurries, you need high balls. They need to be on the ground after they throw it. But then again, I mean, the Jets are going to try and move the ball around as many places as possible. What the Ravens need to do again is when they disguise their blitzing, don't let Sanchez understand that they're coming with a blitz. And again, if they can stay in a 4- and 5-man rush where they're able to stay in coverage on the backside, I think it'll be a big addition to the Baltimore Ravens, which they've been able to do for the last 3 games. Now, again, they weren't able to get to Mass Hasselbeck because of the quick release, but the last 2 of the games, the first game and the last game, they were able to pressure quarterbacks with a 4- and 5-man rush. Enables you to play coverage.
Tony, it seems like they can do the same thing here against a weakened offensive line. It should play well for the Ravens in getting that extra coverage on the backside, as Bruce just talked about.
Yeah, and I think Bruce brought up a really good point, too, with the 5- and 7-step drops, which is an indicator that they're not being able to get downfield. And I think part of the reason for that is that they're losing on first down. We talk about that on this show all the time. They're losing first down, which puts them into 2nd and 3rd long situations. And then if you get Sanchez off the mark, you don't have to sack him, as Bruce said. You don't have to even hit him. But if you can move him off the mark, Sanchez does have accuracy issues.
Yeah, Sanchez, I like the guy. I think he has passion for the game. He studied, it looks like he wants to be good, but he is just not good
He likes 17-year-olds too.
What's that?
He likes 17-year-olds too.
That's illegal.
Is that right? Wow, I didn't know that.
He's not going to jail for that.
I thought
that's some good information.
I thought it was a +1 on that.
Hey, I should have saved that for the insider segment.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez, what's wrong with me? I mean, I'm not making a judgment on the guy, Wow. All I'm judging him on is can he complete a pass, and I hope he can.
Well, he was in GQ, and Aaron Rodgers called him out and said that's just absolutely ridiculous, I guess, because, you got to maybe have a Super Bowl before you get in there. Well, maybe so. Real quickly, though, guys.
You don't parlay that into a 17-year-old.
No.
Well, he's only, 22?
I don't know, but Mark Sanchez, though.
Mike wants to talk football.
Well, yeah, I could go down that road. We're not Mark Sanchez, you talk about stats, though. Here's the deal. Sometimes stats lie. He's completing 63% of his passes, but those are high percentage passes.
Checkdowns.
They don't, checkdowns, they don't go far. Also, interesting stat, though, averaging 8 yards a pass, which is up about 3 from last year. And that was an issue. They talked about Sanchez being one of those young quarterbacks that's not really stretching the field. He's doing that, but again, misleading. He does have 4 picks to 6 touchdowns. So, again, stats can be misleading.
And when your offensive line is struggling, particularly up the gut, and you're getting pressure in your face, then it's going to lead to some QB problems.
60 seconds. Break it down, guys. Give us your predictions as we go around the horn here.
I really don't think this is going to be too close of a game. I think Rex is, going to be aggressive, and we're going to make him pay for it. Cam knows Rex maybe more than anyone else, so I think we take advantage of some desire to kill Joe. So 23-13 Ravens.
Tony?
There's, as ABC's Wide World of Sports said it many times, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I'm going to say the Ravens will defeat The Jets, 23-13. I can't believe by the same score.
Quick, 10 seconds or 10.
I'm such a defensive guy. I'm going to go with Rexy making it close. I'm saying 17-16 Ravens.
I'm going 23-13. More Ravens show next week. Ravens Rap show next week here on Podcast TV.
Ravens Wrap is brought to you by Bud Light, FlyLady.net, Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Ravens247.com, the original Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.